Are all romantic relationships transactional?
I think, here's the thing,
Even
I think
marriage?
unconsciously they have, I wouldn't say they're transactional, but I don't believe in unconditional love. I don't think love should be unconditional. Outside of your children and your parents, it's not going to be unconditional. I think if somebody treats you badly, you're no longer attracted to each other, somebody provides no benefit to you and you've got no connection, you're not going to be unconditionally in love with them. So I think there are always conditions, but some people's conditions are far more transactional than others.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, so I would say, like, for example, my conditions might be that you have to be loyal to me, you have to be faithful, and we have to trust each other, etc. But another person's condition might be that you have to provide for me, you have to provide for my parents, and you have to do this, and you have to do. So just everybody has conditions. Some of those conditions are far more transactional than others, and how you know how transactional it is how attractive the person is. If they are genuinely attracted to you, it gets less and less transactional. As the attraction decreases, the transaction increases.
Who benefits more in marriage, man or woman?
I think there's no benefit for a man, unfortunately, in the Western way of marriage. I think it's so sickening that, we have this agreement that women, when they divorce a man, they can just leave with a lot of his money or expect alimony for the rest of their life. And one of the things I always ask women is, are you going to have sex with him after you divorce for the rest of your life? And she's like, why would I do that? I was like, then why do you expect payment for the rest of your life? It's so strange that they want the perks and the lifestyle of the one that they attained from jumping on the back of their husband after the divorce, yet they wouldn't give anything after the divorce. They didn't even give a lot of that during the marriage, let alone after. So I feel like it's it's almost a culture of creating sadistic women by pushing that kind of, you get half after the divorce. And they seem to say, well, a lot of the excuses, oh, but I wasted so many years being dedicated to him, but you both wasted it. That's a risk you take. He also wasted many years investing in you, and he could have been investing in lots of other people. So I just think that that's why I would be, as a man living in the West, unless it's for religious reasons, I wouldn't recommend you getting married. If you're religious, absolutely. But if you're non-religious and your wife or your girlfriend is putting pressure on you, ask her why. Ask her why, because a lot of them see it as a life insurance for after they get divorced, they still have a payment plan. But this is the extremities. This is not the average woman. I would say this is more the extremities, but unfortunately that is becoming the culture.
So I'm sure in your practice you see a lot of women that are, getting into things that look like a sugar baby type
yes, absolutely.
relationship. Are there women who marry men knowing full well that they're going to divorce them and take half their money?
That's why they're marrying them. That's entirely why they're marrying them. And how these are the signs that she's marrying you for money. Usually she's she's not got her own money. She's got nothing to lose from the marriage. So she will have no money of her own or no career of her own, or she would have been married to a really rich man before and set up a business from that. But there's been a pattern of either no money or relying on men for money. Another thing is she usually comes from a broken home, yet she pushes the idea of marriage. It's really strange. What I notice a lot with these sugar babies, they usually come from a broken home. This is no insult. It's just, what I notice.
Or gold diggers.
Or gold diggers, yeah. They usually come from a very broken home without a father figure. And this is why fathers are so important, because the path that leads women down is not a healthy one. But they come from that background, yet they'll say to their boyfriend, who they've only been with for 6 months, I'm a traditional woman. I want to get married. I want to have kids and I want to get married. So they push this idea of marriage when they never saw it growing up. They've had sex with plenty of men before marriage. They have no idea about how to be a wife or cooking or cleaning or any of those things, because they didn't witness that in their home. They didn't see mum and dad, have dinner together every day and mum being loyal to a man or anything. They didn't see that yet. They push the idea that they want to be married and they want to have kids. They make marriage the focus prematurely. They really, really push marriage prematurely. So you haven't even known them well enough, but they really push the idea of marriage, and you can't even mention the word prenup. It's a forbidden word. If you're in a relationship with a woman and where the word prenup is spoken like you're scared of what she's going to say, she's planning to divorce you. That's it. Whereas a woman who has no plans to divorce you treats a prenup just the way you treat car insurance. You have no plan of getting into a car crash, but you take out insurance because it's a logical thing to do. And you hopefully she would have an equal amount to lose. But when a woman has every intention to divorce you, the prenup is not allowed to be mentioned. And she'll say it like you're being so unromantic because you mentioned it. But the reality is the person who doesn't want the prenup is the person that's planning the divorce. The person that mentions the prenup is just being cautious, just like you would with health insurance. The person who avoids it is the one that's planning it. So they have these kind of signs and symbols, but more so than anything, they don't have traditional values. Outside of the idea of getting married, none of their lifestyle is traditional. Nothing's ever been traditional, ever, in any way, shape or form. But when it comes to marriage, for some reason, they're pushing for it. So it's obvious to a woman, but for men who are, particularly when they are hyper attracted to a woman, they lose focus and they can't see straight.
And they have no other options in their minds.
They have no options. And the other thing, they just don't know what real love even has tasted like.
I think if you're going to get involved with a woman like that, you have to have like 7 options.
You have to. Yeah.
And if one's
but women
misbehaving,
like that don't go for men like that. Sugar babies and gold diggers, they don't go for men with options.
So they want guys that are...
They want guys that are, have limited
hooked.
Options. Yeah, they don't go for men with options. You'll see very few sugar babies that go for men who are at their peak, and very few will go for men that have high self-esteem. Very few will go for men that grew up in a really healthy relationship with their mother. They usually, they can sniff out men with very low self-esteem and limited options. And how you can tell a man's got limited options is your beauty is enough to get him invested. There's nothing else to it. You don't even have to talk about a lot. You don't have to invest a lot. And I'm in Dubai where I see this quite regularly. And you'll see they'll go out for dinner and she's not even talking to him. She's on her phone, but he worships her. And she knows that it's purely physical. And because she knows she can manipulate a man physically, she automatically knows this man is probably used to pornography and I'm the best he's ever had, and therefore he's not going anywhere.
It seems like marriage is not even an option for a lot of people now.
It's sad, but one thing I'm curious about, I'm Muslim, so I very much advocate for marriage, but it's by the eyes of God. But if I wasn't religious, I wouldn't understand why people want to get married if you cohabit and have kids anyway.
Yeah, everyone's doing that.
Yeah, so I am curious, what is the reason that women give, or men give, for getting married if they don't have a religious...
I think a lot of it is just the pressure in society that's what we all did. That's what our parents did. That's what...
Okay, it's just the next step to do.
It's like it's what you're supposed to do. And when you're madly in love with somebody, it just seems like the natural next step.
Okay, but what if you've already had the children?
I haven't been in that situation.
Yeah, but I'm just curious.
But now that I'm divorced, it's going to be very interesting to see what my next step would be.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you've already had the children, you already live together, why is marriage the next logical step?
After your video and James Sexton's video,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
This is not to put people off marriage, it's to put people off marrying the wrong person. There's a very big difference. I'm a big advocate for marriage, huge advocate. I'm a Muslim woman. I'm very much promoting marriage. It's good for children.
And so is James.
Yeah. So it's literally, for children, it's essential. But the poor selection process is the only thing you can blame for when you're taken to the cleaners afterwards. That's it. There's no other cause. It's not the woman. It's not this. It's poor selection. And unfortunately, because of the sexualization of what's going on in social media, selection is getting worse and worse for men.
So many people are getting by without any type of romantic relationship in their lives.
But they do suffer. Yeah, they do suffer.
Are romantic relationships that important in our lives?
They're the fundamental ingredient for anyone's mental health. You cannot get through life without social connections. You physically can't do it. We are designed to be attached. And when you take a newborn baby, as soon as they're born, if it doesn't have someone to attach to, they essentially would erode. They've got no one to protect them. Now, I've met so many men who have not been in relationships for many years because they've got pornography and they're fine. But your body craves the touch and oxytocin of a human being. It just craves interaction. It craves being seen and heard. You crave these things because that's how you get feedback into knowing that you are sane. And how I can tell somebody is super, super lonely is they have very imaginary relationships. they'll be intensely invested into somebody they've met on social media, that there's no reciprocity, or they will ruminate thoughts about a conversation that they had 2-3 months ago and it doesn't come out of their brain. So what happens when you don't have human interaction enough, the 1 or 2 human interactions you do have can leave your brain reeling over and over and over again, because your brain is trying to look for the sources of connection. So if you don't give it to your brain, it will create imaginary ones. And it's almost a form of psychosis, sadly.
What should we be asking ourselves before we enter into a romantic relationship?
How am I using this person? And what am I using them for? Most of us go into relationships with something we're using them for. We can either be using them as a numbing cream to get over an ex-partner. We could be using them as a way to feel stable because of, we've got no finances ourselves. We could be using them as an ego boost because I've gotten a bit older as a man. I want a young 27-year-old so I can walk into a room and people can stare at me. How am I using this person? We're all using this person to some extent. Now, if the answer is healthy, it's because I'm using them because they make me feel safe. I can help make them feel safe, and we can provide something for each other that will create a good connection. I'm using them because they make me feel safe, and I hopefully make them feel safe. That's my usage. That's a good usage. Yeah, if we're using people because they make us feel emotionally safe, they make us feel heard, they make us feel seen, and they make us feel loved, if that's your form of using them, that's okay. That's a healthy form of using. But if I'm using them because there's an unmet need here, or there's an ex that hurt me in that way, or my father didn't do this and you need to now do that, my mother caused this trauma and now you need to do this. If we're using them from that perspective, it's not going to last. The glue is too weak.
I've heard you also say that in marriages we've replaced duty with hedonism.
Yeah, sadly. I mean, the thing is, like, family members, before, when we were more collectivist, we would have a duty of care to others. We've replaced that with a duty of care to ourselves. We've replaced everything to self-love, self-care, self. We've just replaced everything. Almost everything has self in front of it. I can't think of the last time we've got a concept or a trend that involves duty, and it's an obligation and responsibility. These things are now seen as boring, and they're seen as oppressive. So what culture has done is turn duty into a form of oppression, and hedonism and selfishness as a form of liberation. And it's indoctrinated all of us.
And it seems like for a lot of people, once the novelty of the romance wears off, the routine of everything just becomes too boring to tolerate.
When you can no longer feed my ego, I have no duty of care to you, is what we're getting. If you can no longer pay all my bills, I have no duty of care to you. Or if you can no longer make me feel or look good in front of my friends, and if you no longer can arouse me sexually the way you used to, I have no duty of care to you anymore. So the lack of duty of care to the people that you've created children with, you've created homes. I'm not saying everybody's perfect. Sometimes some partners really do push you. But I'm just saying in general, the lack of duty of care is something that I think actually starts from the home. I grew up in London, and one thing I just found so bizarre is children would move out from the age of 18, and 17, 18, they'd be looking to move out, or their parents would charge them rent. And 18 is so young to me. You don't really earn enough to do that. But there was no duty of care after that age. And then what that does, it comes full circle. What would happen is the children would no longer care about the parents as the parents would age. So the duty of care would stop so young. I can only compare it to my own culture. I'm not saying my culture is perfect by any means, but the duty of care never stops, and it then reverses from the children then caring to the adults until they pass. But the duty of care just doesn't stop, and I think that's what collectivist cultures have kind of tried to maintain, but it's dissolving due to Western kind of ideology and individualism.
Yes, like sacrifice is such an important part of everything we engage in.
Yeah.
To become successful in your career, you need to sacrifice a lot of time and get an education, or spend a lot of time and effort into that, or to develop a healthy body, you need to put a lot of work in at the gym. Mm-hmm. But romantic relationships, we don't seem to understand that, and sacrifice is not really even in the discussion.
People will go into a marriage without bearing in mind what the sacrifices it involves at all. And the main sacrifice it involves for men and women is alternatives. And unfortunately, we live in a time where both men and women are saturated with alternatives. I would say women more so than men, because of the advent of social media and dating apps means that they can just jump online and on that day they get alternatives. But the inability to sacrifice alternatives, and that includes pornography, it's not just human beings, and it also includes, like, you know, doing any behaviors that would compromise a relationship. But the inability to make sacrifices is really the core reason why relationships are falling apart.
A common question asked by men is, what do women want? But I think that answer never leads to the man getting the woman that he wants.
Yeah.
I think the more important question is, what kind of man are women attracted to?
Yeah, okay. That's a great